Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Magic Mike. So, Mr. Somich, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Sherlock's Jewel wins, which matters for our handicapping. That horse is in the past performances. Some of the late pick 5 horses. 5-1. Nice price on Sherlock's Jewel. Beats or runs down Donga Momentum late in that race.
There you go. I love it. Getting a little bit of head start on what we're doing. I love it. That's why you're the best, my friend. Let's okay, this is what we're gonna do. We are gonna talk about the Derby and what's happening after. We're gonna do that now. We're gonna get out of the way, and then we're just gonna focus on handicapping. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm sure everyone's excited to hear your take on this for the first time today.
Yeah, sure. If they watch Visa and I did it, and then blah 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 blah. Anyway, okay. So look, Derby, let's go to that first because you killed the Derby. How freaking fun was the Derby for you? Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it was phenomenal in every way, shape, and form. Just a great Derby from a financial perspective. Absolutely crushed it. Gave out the Super for $24. If you watched any of our content on VSiN at the track, you had the Exacta, you had the Super, you had the Trifecta, you had all of it. If you listen to any part of the show, you had the Super, you had the Tri, you had the winner, you had all of it. So awesome to be able to do that from a horse racing perspective. Awesome that we got the 3 best horses to run 1, 2, 3 in the Kentucky Derby for the first time in I don't know when, maybe Justify Good Magic year. Maybe that was the last time we've seen that. And to get the matchup that we wanted, because we had talked about this privately. We talked about it on air. It was, you're going to have the favorite in journalism in the lead turning for home, and Sovereignty is going to be the one running him down. And we get to see those 2 horses bang heads. And that's exactly what we got. When we were on air, you're like, here comes journalism. And I'm like, Sovereignty's right behind him. It's a 2-horse race. And that's what it was. Baeza probably got unlucky, got a rough trip. Other rough trips that I saw, Burnham Square, I thought, got a very rough trip, who was forwardly placed and kind of shuffled back and then made a move. And Tistastic got, I'm not going to say got Rosario'd. He decided to stay inside. He got caught behind a wall of horses. He probably finishes 5th in this race, maybe 4th, had everything worked out for him. So all that was great. I also was really happy that we were dead on about Sandman, where, hey, this horse is going to get overbet in the win pool. If you want to play him in other ways, play him in the Super. You can play him in the Oaks Derby double. But we knew that horse was going to take money. So like across the board, just a phenomenal Derby from that perspective. And of course, we can't be debate free here with Sovereignty missing the Preakness now. So that's the one downside to this, is we are going to now fall into the debate part of this for the next, 5 weeks when this people care about the Triple Crown.
It's funny because Saturday night I felt about as good as I've ever felt about horse racing. I was like, we did, everything went great. The business did well. The picks did well. I cash pick 4s. I cash pick 5s. Like, it was great. And then you hit the Super, and like the show we did at VSiN, like I was all over it early, and then you hit the Super, and it's like, and you hit the winner in the Derby, and like everybody we had on said sovereignty and journalism, one or the other. It was just like, wow, what a high. And then like I read an article Saturday night before I get ready to go to bed, and it's like, ooh, I don't like those comments by Belmont. I don't think they're running. And then 2 days later, we're right back down. So great Derby, totally agree. Now, what are your thoughts on what's happened afterwards? Sovereignty skipping the Preakness. What do you think?
Well, I think that people need to stop blaming Bill Mott for this. Like, I heard multiple radio shows just blast Bill Mott for skipping the Preakness. Guys, Godolphin skipping the Preakness, not Bill Mott. Like, it's not Bill Mott's decision whether or not Sovereignty runs in the race. Yes, he has a voice in that process, but there's like, I guarantee you, Godolphin, a multi-million-dollar business, is not going to Bill Mott and saying, should we run or not? Like, they're asking him questions. How's the horse doing? What do we think about this? What about the longevity of the career? Godolphin likes to run horses at 4, sometimes even 5. Do we think he makes it to that age if we run him in the Preakness? I think all of that is a important factor in this. So I hate that Bill Mott's getting killed, because this isn't just Bill Mott's decision. And the Preakness press release kind of threw him under the bus even further when it was written. Bill Mott called us and said he's pointing to the Belmont. It's like, come on, guys. Like, we can't, color this in a little different way so he doesn't get absolutely destroyed. From a horse racing perspective, I was listening to Blinkers Off. I hope journalism doesn't run. I hope we get just a monster Belmont so that this Preakness is is what it is. It's a Triple Crown race. That's awesome. People are going to pay attention. That's great. But I hope journalism ends up not being in there. And it's interesting, man. Like, you get the argument, like, should we stretch the Derby out? Should we keep it at 5, or should stretch out the Triple Crown, keep it at 5 weeks? I used to be a keep it at 5 weeks guy. I'm kind of a stretch it out guy, and not because of this specific year, but because of where our sport is in general, and the fact that we need the maximum amount of eyeballs on our sport on those 3 days. And we need superstars that can continuously run in the sport. And if you like, people are like, oh, Triple Crown winner would save horse racing. American Pharoah and Justify ran a combined 2 races after the Triple Crown, 2. Right. And it really should have been 1. American Pharoah really pressed hard to get to the Travers, and we saw him lose in the Travers because of that. So I don't see how you can really make the argument now that this 5-week thing is a good idea for the sport in a long run.
Yep. No, I totally agree. It was 3. He ran the Haskell Travers Breeders' Cup, but the point remains, Justify didn't run an any. So,
yeah.
And I don't think American Pharoah transformed racing, to be quite honest, or Justify. So, yeah, no, listen, I don't really care is kind of where I'm at now. It's just like, I don't think anything's going to really happen, because I don't think they're going to work together to make it happen. If I sat here today and had confidence that these 3 tracks are going to get together and make this thing happen, then I would care. And I would say, yes, okay, let's space it out. Let's do what we need to do here. You have to evolve. Sports evolve. Every sport has evolved. Every sport has changed the rules, right? And I think racing, probably it's time. But Samich, I don't know how you're going to get these separate entities that have their own agenda all together. That's what the problem is.
Oh, you're correct. It's not going to change. I just think it should. Like, the fact of the matter is CDI is publicly traded. They care about their quarterly numbers. Stronach Group is publicly traded. They care about their quarterly numbers. Naira owns the Belmont. They care about their numbers. Belmont's not like, Naira's not gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna move the Belmont to help the Preakness out. No, and the Preakness is like, the option is to move the Preakness behind the Belmont, and then you have all these other people that are complaining. It's just like, I don't see any way it works out. I do think next year you have a small possibility we see a new Preakness date, because it's not at Pimlico next year. They're moving it. They're talking about moving it over to Laurel. If it's at Laurel, that changes the racing days that you could possibly have it. But it also means, like, we talk about the Triple Crown from a horse racing perspective, that affects Saratoga's schedule, that affects Monmouth's schedule, affects the Haskell, the Curlin, the Jim Dandy, the Travers. It affects all of these other dominoes that have to then adjust their schedules to get it in line until we have a specific governing body that is like, hey, we're going to do a revenue share across these racetracks. We're going to work together for the best of the sport. It's almost impossible to make these style of changes.
So never is what you're saying.
Hey, I will never say never, but
Okay.
you'd need like 10 guys to put in $100 million and buy all these companies. That is the way it happens.
So
I don't
never
see that
is what you're
anytime
saying.
soon. You
So
never know.
never.
Maybe Rapoli, as the de facto commissioner, when he lost a vote to be commissioner, but then continued to call himself commissioner, finds 5 rich buddies who decide to do this. But that's really the hope for the sport, is that someone does that, or else we're just going to keep, having too high of a takeout in a lot of different places. We're going to continue to have poorly timed out races. Races go on top of each other. You're going to keep having superstars not consistently run because of the amount of black type that's available. They're more worth more money in the breeding shed. I mean, there's just a plethora of problems. You could go down the list, and it's unfortunate.
Well, I've talked about this about 6 times today, it feels like, and I'm glad that I don't have any arguments with you. And I can just say, if you want my thoughts, you can go see them on Blinkers Off or on the video at racingdudes.com. Or if you don't want to do all that, I pretty much echo everything he just said. So what you just said is what I've been saying as well. And that's that, right? And I'm with you. Like, I don't really sit here and I'm not, oh, let's get all after Belmont and piss on this guy. I don't feel that way at all.
No,
so
no.
And
I
mean,
guess,
you and I both know
it would take more than 100 million. It would take maybe if Churchill's market cap is 6.7, which I have not looked at their stock recently, it would probably take 30 billion then to do it. So yeah, never happening.
You said you'd never say never. What are you talking about?
No. There's not $30 billion. Like, because they can't publicly trade them. Although I will say this: if you bought CDI and you bought Stronach, the land value actually offsets the idea of purchasing some of this stuff, because it's not like you are just purchasing the asset of horse racing. You are buying the land that has significant value, especially with Stronach at Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. So, well, it'll be fun to follow this. It won't be, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as we go along. All right, listen, let's get to the handicapping. I wanted to get that out of the way. Let's get to the handicapping. Just for magic, I'm going to play the bugle, and then we're going to get to it. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I just figured I didn't need to say anything there. No, you need 100% of CDI. Well, I guess you could take it private for 51%, but then you'd have to buy out the other 49% if you really wanted to take it private.
You guys are way over my head now. Let's just do this. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's get to the handicapping. Belmont at the Big A on Saturday, May 10th. We're going to go races 7 through 11 here, the late pick 5. We're going to start with race 7, and it is a stakes race, the John A. Nerud Stakes, 6 furlongs, $175,000 a purse. Grade 3 event here, field of 6. All right, Samich, I like the sequence, but I also think the sequence might be a little chalky. So let's get it going. Who you like here?
Yeah, I saw your ticket. You definitely have the chalky vibe going. I felt like it could be too, so I decided to single in one of the legs, which I thought was a little bit of it's not an aggressive single, but it's not a passive single either because of the leg it's coming in. I'm going to start out 2 deep here. I have the 3-horse, what you're talking about, on top. Wesley Ward, Irad Ortiz, 6-5 on the morning line, so not getting creative with the top pick in this spot here. But this is a horse that's been just solid. The last couple races were very good. However, those were off a break. They were state bred races and 2X level. So you're going to have to step up in competition. But you look at the last couple workouts at Keeneland, clearly this horse is doing very well. I think it's interesting they decided to point the horse here versus having him run at Keeneland because he was running well over the track. But we know he likes Aqueduct as well. So to me, this is one where if you want to try and get around him, I would take a shot with someone that you think has a little bit bigger of a price, so you're able to do so. But it's one of those setups where he's able to, it's a fast horse, but doesn't need the lead. And you've got both speed to the inside, you've got Anarchist to the outside, and one of the train wrecks in this, and Anarchist doesn't fall in it, so we'll talk about it later. But yeah, Anarchist is speed to the outside. So you'd assume there's a decent pace to chase, and the 3, what you're talking about, is the one that's sitting right behind them.
Yeah, I use the 3, what you're talking about as well. I just think it's the logical use of the bunch here, no doubt about it. I went 2 deep as well. I did use the number 5 Anarchist on my ticket as well. I thought the race last time out was pretty darn good. Finished third, only beaten 3/4 of the length by Booth and Rivet. That's 2 Steve Asmussen horses that are pretty decent. Booth really kind of blossomed this year at Oaklawn. It had hype, but never really ran to it until this year. And then Rivet's always kind of just been very, consistent. So Anarchist was the other horse on the ticket for me. I went 3-5. I think he's rounded into form pretty well. You said he went 2 deep. Who else did you use?
I use the 2 Silver Slugger. So whenever I'm using a 6-5 shot and I'm not singling, I'm always using a horse that is a price. And this is the 5th of the 6 choices. I think we can all agree O'Connor Sunset doesn't have a shot at winning this race. The 6 horse who's 30-1. So really the longest logical shot on the board. And Silver Slugger is just hey, what if this horse actually gets the lead? If you've been watching Belmont Park or Aqueduct at Belmont at the Big A, whatever you want to call this stinking track, it's Aqueduct really. Speed's been pretty good today, and speed's been pretty good this entire meet on the front on the main track. We'll see if that plays out, but this is just the speed of the speed. I mean, when you look through this, we're going 6 furlongs. We're not going 7. We're not going 6.5. So it is a good distance for speed, and you've got literally 5 horses that have some speed. But Silver Slugger's kind of the fastest, isn't he? I mean, 21-3, 44-1, while winning at 6.5 furlongs at Tampa, consistently runs in the 22 and change level for that first quarter. Yes, there's other horses that can go 22 and change. And the key here is, can he clear the 1 to the inside? But if Silver Slugger clears the 1, I think he's clearly the fastest horse in this race. And then all of a sudden, you got to catch him. And that sometimes is very tough to do, especially at this graded stakes level at Aqueduct. So I'm willing to take a little bit of a shot with a horse who I think is the speed of the speed in the 2 Silver Slugger.
Yeah, stepping up in class here, but this is if you're going to step up in class, this is the field you kind of want to catch. There's no monsters in this race, that's for sure. The last race I thought was super impressive. And look, I know it's Tampa, but listen, I I just think that was super impressive. You run anywhere, you run that kind of race, you just dominate from start to finish. And what I liked about these 3 wins all down there at Tampa is that the speed figures just kept getting better. It seems like this horse is just getting better and better. We'll see if that starter allowance / allowance speed will be able to be classy enough to get the lead here. On paper, it should, though. I'm with you. On paper, I've got the 2 taking the lead here.
Yeah, and that to me is the key, right? Like if the 2 drew the 1, I might even put this horse on top. But because it drew the 2, I'm a little worried we don't clear the 1, which is obviously a very important thing to do. But when I'm looking at, class jumps, there are certain levels, certain style of races that doesn't bother me as much. Mm-hmm. Sprints are the main 2, turf sprints and dirt sprints. The class level is not nearly as big of an effect in my mind, because if you're a fast horse and you like the lead and you can run fast enough to get the lead, class isn't nearly as relevant as it is when you're going 2 turns, when you're dealing with larger fields. Like, and it's the same thing with turf sprinting. Like, if the horse is just faster than everybody else in the field, it doesn't matter if they don't have the class. They're still going to get to the front. That's what I'm hoping Silver Slug are able to do, is get to the front and then ideally hold off what you're talking about there down the lane. It goes 2-3. But I do like the 3. I think the 3 is your logical favorite, the most likely winner. But I think the 2 is a little undervalued at 8-1.
I couldn't agree with more with what you said about the class situation. I think that is very much true. I just think turf races in general can play that way as well. And then on the dirt, yeah, I agree. You can sprint and jump up in class a lot easier than you can when you're trying to go a route of ground. And I think sometimes that can be because you can catch these sprint fields like what you're catching here, that you don't have just those monster sprinters all over the country like sometimes you can hand on the route horses there in the dirt. So, yep, I'm with you on that one. We'll see what happens here. I would not be shocked if you got it with the 2. I don't hate the 2 at all. Like I said, a horse that's been awfully good. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to race 8. You hinted that you may have an aggressive single. Did it come here? Well, race 8, an allowance here on the turf, going 1 mile and 16th, field of 7 into the main body. We do have 3 main track only entries as well. All right, Samich, who you got?
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say aggressive, because I am singling the favorite at 5-2, but it's not an easy single race. I think you're going to see people spread quite a bit in here. And when I went through this field, I thought it was pretty interesting, because a lot of times NYRA races get knocked for being paceless. This does not feel like one of those, and we'll talk about it again with the other turf race here. But I mean, if you look at the last race at Gulfstream Park, you had the 7, the 6, and the 4 all come out of it. They are all 3 horses that want to be forwardly placed, and that race had 23, 46, and 2 to the half. I kind of feel like it is easily replicatable for the 4, the 6, and the 7 to go out and run a similar pace. I think you're going to get at least 2 of them. We saw Bonus Move make the lead last time. Bonus Move was coming out of 5 furlong turf sprints and was not on the lead, but then all of a sudden you transition over to a mile. Boom, you're up front because of that early speed. It's all coming together. Drew to the outside of Bonus Move last time. I'm sorry, drew to the inside of Bonus Move last time and didn't go get the lead, and then tried to kind of stalk. That was the first time we'd seen that horse stalk. I think you're going to see a little more aggressive ride in this spot from It's All Coming Together. And then Enlighten, another one that consistently has gone 23, 22 and change in the opening quarter down at Gulfstream. I would expect to make the lead, or at least try and make the lead again here. And he was drawn to the outside of both of those 2 speed horses last time and was 3rd in the early going of the race. So with Enlighten, with the 6 and with the 7 all in the race, to me, that means we're going to get at least a decent pace. So then you've got 4 horses left, right? And you've got Daunt and Magical Ways. And I was a little interested in both of these at prices, but I don't think either can really win. If you look at Magical Ways, 4 times running on the Aqueduct turf course, 3 shows, 3 shows and 5 tries on the overall turf course there, just doesn't seem to win. And Daunt wants to go further. Like, this clearly feels like this is a setup race for him. And that just leaves me with the 1 horse Activist Investing. It's 5-2 on the morning line. It's Chad Brown. It's Irad Ortiz. We've seen this horse run extremely well before over this Aqueduct turf course. Broke the maiden here on the 3rd off the layoff. Improved nicely. What got into Graded Stakes Company last year or 2 years ago as a 3-year-old, had a long layoff, comes back, loses to degree of risk in what was a very fast mile race, 134-1 at Gulfstream Park, and was closing late in that race to be able to get to that 134-1. Now you're stretching out longer. You've got 1 more under your belt. You got the rail, which means you're going to be able to save ground behind these 3 speed horses that I expect. To me, this just all sets up for the 1 horse Activist Investing to win rather easily.
Yeah, I've got the one on top as well, and I think a lot of the reason why I put the horse on top is what you're saying. It does seem like there's going to be pace up front, and I do think if that happens, I think the one Activist Investing is way the horse to beat. Gets IRAD for the second straight race as well. So, yep, I did use the one and have the one on top. I did use the 4 and the 6 though, and so I am just worried. Yes, I know it is a situation where there does look to be a lot of speed, but man, sometimes they get up here and there's just not.
Yeah.
And I do think the 4 can control it. And I think the 6 will sit right outside the 4. And I could see a world where it runs 1-2 with those two horses coming in any order. So I'm pretty confident that if it's going to be the 1, the 4, or the 6, I really didn't think you needed to use anybody else in here. I do think I think Enlighten gets the lead. And like I said, I think the 6 sits right off, and then it's just a matter of, okay, is the 7 going to do its job? Maybe the 5 runs up there and gets it going a little bit. And if that happens, then I do think the 1 comes closing late. So I went 1, 4, 6. Yeah, you mentioned the 2 and the 3 horses you thought maybe could close as well. I'll comment on one of those because it's one I really thought about using, and that's the 3. Almost use a 3 instead of the 6 because it just feels like getting back to the turf. This horse always is consistent. The problem was just not a lot of wins recently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not a single one on the page. If you go back, I think it's like 15 races.
Yeah.
You know what really jumped out at me when I was looking, if I didn't single the 1, I'd be using the 2. I'd be using Dawn and hoping that the shortened distance on the comeback is able to set up well for him here, because I don't really like that race at Gulfstream Park that all 3 of these ran in. I'm not sure what the pace is going to look like. So I would kind of pass on the 4, 6, 7 and try and beat them here. And I was between the 2 and the 3 with which one I wanted to beat them. Did you see Rudy Rod's turf numbers?
Yeah, not good.
I mean, 1% in his last 127 races. This isn't a small sample size. So you have a horse that doesn't like to win with a trainer that is 1 for his last 127 turf races. That's insane. Like, you have to try to only win 1 of 127 turf races. So it's very hard for me to say, okay, like let's sign up for a Rudy Rod turf horse who doesn't like to win in and of itself and is also needs the setup and all these other things. So for me, the 1 was a pretty clear pick, but then it was the 2. And if I was going to go 3 deep, it'd be the 4. But I think the 1 airs this field.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully geez, if I could talk, hopefully he does. And we're alive going into the 3rd leg. That was something, I wanted to mention last week, just real quick. We were like,
that's true. Rudy Rod hasn't won a turf route at Backwood in 3 years, but that'd be pretty brutal if he had it.
I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Over 42 when it's been Backwood. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not touching Rudy Rod turf horses right now. I'll tell you that much.
No.
That's a stat.
I mean, that's enough. That's enough to not do it. Yeah. Well, I was going to mention we were kind of all over the place last week, but yet we just kept advancing. The one horse we would use would keep winning. So that is something to kind of keep an eye on for the next week or two, because that's been what's happening on these shows. A lot of time, the ones where we're different, that one horse is winning. So keep in mind that, and that's a good segue to the next race we're going to talk about, where if I'm looking at it right, I do think we're a little bit different here. So let's talk about race number 9 as we move back or onto the card, I should say. Take the A-Train Stakes, 6 furlong turf sprint here. Field of 10. We do have 1 also eligible. What do you got?
Yeah. So before we jump into it, there are 4 horses that are also scheduled to run on the 10th of May at Churchill Downs.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So the 1 horse, the 1 horse, the 7 horse, the 8 horse, and the 9 horse are all entered at Churchill Downs, which is interesting because it's 2 DeVos and an Urton and then an Arnold. All of them could easily run at Churchill Downs based on who's training those horses. The 7 is most likely, and my guess is we get 1 of the 2 DeVos. So we're going to talk about this race, obviously, but like there are going to most likely be scratches. And I think you just realized when I said this, they were all running at Churchill on the same day. That changes the whole infrastructure of this race, depending on who's in and who's out. And so caveat to like check back on Saturday. This is going to change if we see some key scratches in here. If we're going to handicap it as if all 10 run, but we're talking about pace horses. We're talking about middling or shorter prices. There's a lot of different factors here that go into the handicap that those 4 horses specifically encapsulate. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that and kind of got that out of the way before we jumped into everything, because I do think it matters when it's 4 horses that are, to me, that important here. So just throwing that out there real quick. Top pick for me, I'm going with the number 7 horse, Lovely Emma. This is a speed play for me. I think Lovely Emma is the fastest horse. I am not sure if Lovely Emma will be in the race. If Lovely Emma is not, I move one stall to the inside and like Anna's Call the most in this race, because I think Anna's Call actually has a shot to go forward if the 7 Lovely Emma is out of the race. So I use 6-7 to start. I'm expecting the 7's not in this race. I would expect Urton decides to be at Churchill over being at Backwood, just from what we have seen in the past. But I don't know what's your take.
Well, it's funny you say that, because my time form that I use, they usually list those, like here's horses that are double entered. They don't list them on Belmont at the Big A. They don't at all. And so I went to Churchill. They listed them all on Churchill. So that's why I missed that, because the damn time form didn't list them on the Belmont Big A. Anyway, I think at this point your guess is as good as mine on who's going to show up. I'm looking. So you said name the numbers one more time.
1, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, so I used that's 3 of the 4 I used, which is very.
That's why I said make sure you check back on this race on Saturday, right? Because this is also like a group of the ones that I'm using. Doesn't it make you feel like maybe we're going to scratch both the 8 and the 9, the 2 DeVoe horses, because neither Ortiz brothers riding them?
So possibly, I would think that makes sense. I would also tell you that the 9 worked out at Keeneland on May 2nd. The 7 worked out at Keeneland on May 3rd. And then the 1 worked out at Keeneland on May 3rd.
And the 9 worked out at Keeneland on May 2nd.
Oh, yep. And then the 9, I'm sorry, I didn't see the 9. The 9, May 2nd. Yeah.
So all 3's last work was at Keeneland less than a week ago. All 4.
Now the 8 did work out at Keeneland. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. The 8 worked out at Keeneland on April 19th. Maybe the 8's in.
The 8, I have a May 5th workout.
Oh, you do? So the 8's 100% out then, I would think.
Yeah, I would assume the 8's out based on that.
Well, I mean, I have to really recalibrate everything. I will just go ahead and talk about who I listed here.
I blew up your world here, didn't I?
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know why Timeform did that. That's so weird. I've never messed up like that before. So, see, I usually handicap a day in advance, so I haven't even looked at Saturday Churchill. I do that tomorrow morning, right? Yep. But obviously, like, Timeform will alert me when they're double entered, but they didn't for this. So frustrating. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, look, I'll talk about the 1 and the 7 first, because those are the 2 horses that I think have a shot of being here. So I have the 7 Lovely Emma on top as well. I love that the horse, what the horse did last time out, ran very well, and really 2 races back at Keeneland ran well, and just kind of got beat late, but nothing against that horse. Ran well that day. Gets Flavian Pratt here, and I'm with you. I think the 7 clearly gets the lead. I don't see any horse that's really going to challenge the 7 for the lead. Maybe the 10, but I'm not real worried about the 10. So yeah, give me Lovely Emma here on top. I used her. And then I did use the 1, Bunrati Manor. I think this is a horse that draws the rail and should kind of get a nice little pocket trip. I don't think this horse is as fast as the 10 or the 5 or the 7, but I do think can kind of sit in, let's say, 3rd, and maybe if there's scratches, maybe even get up to 2nd and sit that nice pocket trip, tip out and run, when the real running begins. So I had 7-1 as my first 2 on the ticket. And look, I think but with the scratches, I don't know. We're getting 10-1 on this one horse. That's for sure. I think if everybody stays in, there's a chance. But anyway, that's what I like best, 7 and 1. I'll just go ahead and throw it out. I have the 4 third. I'll go ahead and throw out the 4. I think this horse will be in, obviously. So the 4 and 3rd for me, nice maiden win at Belmont Big A right here. And then in 2024, 2 races down at Gulfstream, finished 2nd, only beating a half length to Nitrogen, 2 races back. Last time out, pretty disappointing. So I've got the 4 in there as well. Those are kind of the 3. Hopefully the 3 that I have that will stay in are those 3.
Yeah, I don't mind the 4. I like the 6 more, which is the other Clement, with Irad up, the win at 5.5 furlongs, and then coming back and running second to Me Governor, I thought was very good, who's been competitive in graded stakes and listed stakes ever since that race. So I like the back class there for the 6. So I use 6, 7 to start out. I mentioned those 2. We'll see if they're in. I really am intrigued by this 2, Marvelous Madison. This is a horse that is bred to be a turf sprinter and debuted on the turf sprinting and won for Chad Brown. And they sent this horse into the Miss Galileo, which is a 1:16 race, grade 2. The horse drew all the way on the outside and bolted in the race and finished dead last, and then switched to the Mott barn. Belmont has taken his time bringing this horse back. Now we're seeing it debut back into a turf sprint, but not just that, but debuting into a stakes race that's open company, which tells you Mott thinks this is a very good turf sprinter, or else he's finding an easier spot. There's a lot of easier spots you could take than this $150,000 open company stakes race. The horse had a bullet workout, 1 to 12, 2 back, had worked on the turf prior to that. So you can see the goal there. Mott's 24% when he takes over, first time training, because he doesn't do it all that often. There's not that big of a sample size, just 29 times. He's pretty good with turf sprints at 16%. I think this horse is really live at 8-1. I was surprised that we saw the 8-1 morning line, but because you've got the 7, the 8 that are still listed in here, and the 9 that may not be in here, I think it's awfully interesting to take a look there at the 2 horse, and then the 3 horse a little intriguing to me as well. I use the 3-2 Disco Star, who if you go back to the turf races again, this horse feels like it's a better turf sprinter. We saw it debut at turf sprinting, ran second. The second race gets scratched or taken off the turf because of rain. That third race on the turf as a 2-year-old wins this race. It was that good. And this horse is 8-1. Well, what's happened since? Well, we ran a mile on the turf. That's irrelevant. And then we went 6.5 furlongs over a muddy track, which, by the way, we know this horse doesn't run as well on, and still almost set a career number in the debut of the 3-year-old season, or the second race of the 3-year-old season. I think the 3 is really interesting at a price too. And both of those are 8-1.
Yeah, I thought about the 2 for quite a long time, and if the horse scratches, I'll probably throw the 2 on the ticket as well because of the Belmont factor and kind of what you talked about. And he is really good with taking over from different trainers. So I'm with you there. I like the 2 quite a bit. I did use the 8. I don't know if the 8's going to be here or not, but the 8, Hey Birdie, a horse that's 2 for 2, really, won. On debut on the dirt when that race was rained off there at Fairgrounds, and then right back to the turf immediately. They thought this was a turf horse all along, you could tell, and improved the time form, and looked very good on the turf as well. So I use the 8 as the 4th horse on the ticket, and if the 8 shows up, great. If not, or if one of the other ones scratches, I'll probably end up going with the 2. But that's it's going to be a very interesting how this thing kind of unfolds. What about since the also eligible, the 11 might get in? What do you think about the 11?
The funny thing, I looked at everything else and didn't even think about looking at the 11. I think the 11's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a horse that was breaking from all the way on the outside, going 6 furlongs at this track, at this distance, first time out, and that was mid 2024. So nice long layoff, but clearly can fire first out. Motion's pretty good first out. Franco comes back to take them out. I would have to look at the rest of the race because I have not looked at the rest of the race to see if there's anything else in that race. And the nice part about being this far off is that you'll actually get some pretty decent results with who else was in that race. So I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of also a lot of winners, I would think.
Yeah, so 2 next out winners, 2 next out runners up came from that race.
Yeah,
including a maiden special weight winner at Saratoga, who won next out after that start as well. The second place finisher was going to mile 16th on the turf. That was the Good Long Cry ran second, and that next maiden special weight. So pretty good, and that was at Saratoga. So pretty good next out races there for what the 11 warming beat. So yeah, I mean the 11 probably another one I'm interested in making the ticket here if the 11 draws in, depending on who was out. But like I said, come back. I will make sure I post who I like in this race once the scratches are out on Saturday. I'm sure Aaron, you won't because you're not on Twitter, but this becomes in my mind a really interesting race. But for me, if everyone runs, it's 6, 7, 2, 3. If the 11 gets in and it's because the 7's out, I'm probably adding the 11.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. The 11 and the 2 will be the two that I kind of throw in if the 1, 4, 7, 8, any of those scratch. I think in that order, I'll probably do that. So yeah, keep an eye out. Yeah, I won't post it on Twitter, but you know where to find me. So
You can text me your picks on Saturday morning, and I'll update it.
I'll
for
think
you.
about it. Okay,
I mean,
I'll text you.
I could just go on the website and look too if you're going to be a dick about it.
I'll text you. Okay. All right. I'll do it. All right. Speaking of being a dick, let's move on to the next race. You ready for this? All right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The 10th race here is the Ruffian Stakes Grade 2 event going 1 mile on the dirt this time, $200,000 a purse here. Pretty solid field of 11 here, Samich. I only went 2 deep, though. Where'd you go?
Caveat here: the 1, 2, 3, and 7 are cross-entered. No one cares though on those horses.
No.
At least I don't care. I'm not going to use any of those horses. But that, I have the 3 and 4th, but I didn't get that deep. But they're the 1, 2, 3, and 7 all cross-entered here. I went 3 deep here. Top pick for me is going to be the number 4 horse, Sterling Silver for Belmont and Javier Castellano, 9-2 on the morning line. This is a horse that has run in a lot of state-bred stakes races. Has jumped into open company twice in grade 2 levels, and I thought ran pretty decent. I mean, this is a horse that was 6 lengths behind Ways and Means, who would be a heavy favorite if Ways and Means had opted to this spot versus last weekend at Churchill Downs. And I like the setup here. This is one of those horses that wants to stalk, doesn't need to be on the lead, but likes to be close to the lead. Is run well, 5 wins and 12 starts over this racetrack, 2 wins and 4 starts at the distance, including a 2nd place finish. Was in the Grade 1 Madison a couple years ago against Vava and Alva's Star. Faced them again in the Derby City Distaff. Was 3 lengths behind them in the second running of that. Was 6 lengths behind in the first. So not like getting blown out by that level of a horse, which by the way is very good. And this horse has just gotten better since getting into the Belmont barn. And it's not like these massive jumps, but just slightly better, slightly better, slightly better, slightly better. I do think this mile distance is the best distance for this horse, and I think the setup is right. So give me the number 4, Sterling Silver, 9-2 on the morning line.
I think we're gonna have a pace meltdown here, and I went for the closers in this spot. Like I said, I only went 2 deep. I put the number 8 Jody's Pride on top. I kind of like this horse at 5-1. Last time out in the Azeri, wet fast track, stretching on in distance. Forget about that. Facing Torpedo Anna, but 2 races back, Inside Information Stakes, going 7 furlongs. Similar to a 1-turn mile, got beat by Mystic Lake and Emery only by a neck, and those 2 are very good. They would be horses I would use in this spot. So I really like this spot for Jody's Pride. I think she's going to run a very big race today, and I think the pace setup's going to be there. I think she'll kind of sit back 5th, 6th, something like that. And I think the pace is going to set up, and I think she's going to come running. So I've got the number 8 Jody's Pride on top here. Using 2, that's the first one. What do you think of the 8?
I used the 8. Third horse on for me, 3rd of 3. But the back class obviously fits well here. Grade 1 last year in the Ashland, ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, ran 2nd to Just FYI that day. The mile distance hits this horse right between the eyes, 1 for 1 at it, 2 for 2 over the Backwood Dirt Course. That's obviously a positive as well. Wish Rosario wasn't up, but you can't have everything your way sometimes. So that's the one knock there. But I do like the 8 Jody's Pride. I do think it's a similar trip to the 4 horse who has the opportunity, like in that stalking position behind what I do think is going to be a decent pace.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that kind of shakes out from the pace standpoint, because it's going to make this race what it is. If somebody can get clear, I don't think you got just like great closers in here, but it just feels like a closer's race overall. And so the second pick, the second horse I'm going to put on the ticket is the 10 My Main Squeeze. You just look at this horse; it seems to be picture perfect for her, right? You look at the race 3 back; she's back in 6th or 7th, closes up for a nice win because they ran fast early. You look at the 8 Bells at Churchill Downs last year; they ran fast early. She was able to come get them. So just simple for me. 8-10. Looking at the 2 closers, I think the 2 best closers in the race, and I think those are the 2 that are going to get it done. So I didn't, this is the race I'm going short in that you maybe not feel the greatest about, but again, I think with the pace materializing, those are the 2 to beat. So 8-10 for me. Anybody else you got on yours?
I use the 9. Give me Gunsong here, who is 8-1 on the morning line, was sub-even money last time out, disappointing third against Literate, and just FYI. That was the first off the layoff, though, and that was clearly a prep race for this race. I don't think that you saw the best version of Gunsong that day. I thought you saw the 75% version of Gunsong that day, where it's, hey, we've got graded stakes in mind. We don't really care about the $75,000 allowance. We just want to get one in the horse, and the buyer backs that up. The time form number backs that up. They just didn't really push Gunsong to the limit there, and I don't think she was fully cranked. I think she will be fully cranked here second time off the layoff. This horse has run huge before, has won the $200,000 stakes, ran second in the Cotillion to Torpedo Anna, missed by a neck that day, ran second in the Mother Goose to Tarafa, missed by a neck head that day over this track. That was a longer distance, a mile and an eighth. My one concern here is the pace, and you mentioned it. I'm interested to see how fast it is, because when I go through here, there are other horses. Dazzling Move has speed. Here's the kicker, has speed. Take the Money Honey, the one has speed if she's in here. I will be interested to see where Gunsong sits. But I look at some of these where she was second in these longer races and then able to close in. I don't think it absolutely blasts her chances if they're going quickly early, because I do think she is the best of all of those speed horses. And if we do get one or two scratches, all of a sudden she has a much easier trip here from a speed perspective. And like I said, you've got the 7, you've got the 1 who are both cross-centered. We'll see if they end up going. I think the 7 probably out. So we'll see what happens there from a speed perspective. But I'm going to go 4, 8, 9 to try and get through here. I'm not going to use the 10 here.
I do think Gunsong is pretty interesting in this spot. I think the big key for Gunsong is what you just said. Will that pace materialize, and will it be just too dang hot? That's going to be the big question mark. But I'm with you. I think that the 9 Gunsong, you hope the 1 maybe doesn't get out there, and then all of a sudden the 9 could be out there setting the pace. So that'll be interesting to see how that materializes. All right, let's go to the main event. Let's go to what I think is a pretty fun race this year. This is a hit and miss race, right? Let's talk about it. The race 11, the Peter Pan Grade 3 event for 3-year-olds, going a mile and an eighth. It's a Belmont prep race here, field of 10. Some years we get nothing out of this, and some years we get the Belmont winner, like Arcangelo. All right, Samich, tricky race here. Who you got?
It is a tricky race. I unfortunately landed on the favorite in a tricky race, which I don't like doing all that often, but I'm going to sprinkle some prices underneath to see if we can get somebody home. I like the 8 Captain Cook on top. Again, no like super handicap shocker here, but like I like Grande, who I thought ran a very good second there. It felt like when Captain Cook didn't get the front and Rodriguez just kind of started taking off, Captain Cook sort of got his heart ripped out. Also, first off a layoff for Captain Cook. I think we're going to be better second off the layoff here, especially when you're going a mile and an eighth and you're trying to chase a horse that is clearly kicking away. I mean, it's just not a good situation for Captain Cook in that spot. I think this is a tough race, but I do think that the 8 horse is your most likely winner. So I have the 8 on top, but after that, it's prices for me. I assume you use the 8.
Yeah, I use the 8 on top as well, and I kind of agree with everything you said. I like the kind of getting that drop down in class. Last time out, when I watched that race with Captain Cook, he was in a really, really good spot. And I thought, man, he's running well. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And he makes a move into Rodriguez, and he just couldn't make up any ground. And he got discouraged and just went backwards. You can't tell me differently. I think he thought, all right, here I go. I'm going to win. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. And he just couldn't make up ground, and he quit. I don't think that's going to happen here. I think he's either going to be on the lead or he's going to be tracking a horse that he can get past. So I'm with you. I've got the 8 on the ticket as well here. Who
makes the lead if he doesn't? That was my big thing.
Is it Vassimo?
I mean, that would be the other logical one, but it feels like they just send Captain Cook. I mean, because the only other horse that's been on the lead early is the 7 First Pitch, who went gate to wire with a 49-second first half. Like, I just don't see Captain Cook not going 47 and change if he wants and winning this race.
Yeah, and hold on here. I just made a typo before I put this to the public. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think Captain Cook is the horse that takes the lead. Now, I mistyped it on the back end. I had Vassimo on my ticket. That's not who I'm using. My second horse on the ticket is the other Pletcher, the 6 Uncaged, because I don't like Vassimo. I don't think he's that good. And I really like the 6. I think the 6 Uncaged, you look on debut, ran really well. and then had a long layoff. That was a Saratoga race they ran really well in and won. Had a long layoff, came back and was awful. He kind of got back to what we were thinking last time out throwing that allowance, and I think he can take a step forward stretching out a distance. So I don't know. I just thought Uncaged was a horse getting better. I don't think he's going to be on the lead, but I think he can be forwardly placed now, stretching out a distance. So the 8 and the 6 were the first two on mine. I went 3 deep. What about you? Who else you got?
Everyone has an opinion, and sometimes people's opinions are wrong. And in this case, your opinion is incorrect. Vassimo is a good horse. This is one that I think I'm willing to put on the ticket as my second horse. I look at the first two races, and they're good enough to win, right? Gets the job done at Gulfstream, gets DQ'd, but won the race, crossed the wire first, then goes to Tampa, wins that race. Look, that Fairgrounds Risen Star chased magnitude, and it didn't completely stop. Was in 7th and then passed some horses late because he was able to at least keep going. And then you go to the Louisiana Derby, again, a hot pace, and he got faded back to 9th and got some weird trip action, was wide, and then got up to 7th. To me, those aren't terrible races. They're just kind of races that were a little bit messy. And now you give me a smaller field with less pace, what could be either a trip on the lead or right behind Captain Cook sitting in the catbird speed. To me, this is a very different race than what Vassimo has run the last two races. I'm willing to give Vassimo the benefit of the doubt in those two, which were they were weird races. They were just weird races when you look back at them. I mean, Chunk of Gold ran second in both of those races. He's not very good, but you look back at it and it's just it's set up for certain horses to be successful, and both of those races did not set up for Vassimo to be successful. So because of that, I'm willing to just be okay, no problem. Uncaged, I considered. I couldn't quite get there on this 6 horse. I went back and forth, and I included the 3. So let's talk about 3 first, then I'll get to the 6. Surfside Moon here, second off the layoff for James Lawrence, a very smaller barn, only 41 starters so far this year, has won at a 10% clip, so not bad there. This is a horse that broke its maiden on the Delaware turf. They tried the turf route, came back in the Withers, and I thought ran a really freaking good second to Captain Cook at a monster number, 33-1. They send this horse back out in the Testo to try and essentially get this horse into the Preakness. Ends up running third in that race. Pay Billy, who was planning to be in the Preakness, was your winner there. I don't think this horse loved the inside draw in that spot. And now all of a sudden we're coming back here, second off the layoff. I expect the horse to get a little bit better if we can run back to that Withers. I think this horse is very live in this spot, and it's the career best race over this racetrack, going a mile and an eighth. To me, there's enough here that at an 8-1 price, I'm interested in using. Did you consider the 3 at all, or was that an easy one out for you?
No, it was not an easy one out for me. I considered the 3 more than the 1, to be honest. I really liked what the 3 did, and I don't know where it came from. He deserved to be 33-1 in the Withers, but he was
correct.
Good. And then it was kind of one of those things. After the Withers, I thought, well, he'll go somewhere and it won't be that great. He ran okay in the Tessia last time out. I'm with you. He matched that number and he ran okay. So I'm with you. I think this is a horse that makes a ton of sense to use. And I can't hate on it much at all. I just want to comment on the Vassimo thing. And this is, I'll probably talk him right to the winner's circle. And I don't think he's a horrible use. I just really question, who has he ever really finished in front of? That's my worry when I got to looking at it. He beat Rapture. Rapture's not good. He went to Tampa next, but I get that. They were prepping that horse. That's just a prep. I don't hold that against him. I don't know. You just look at this Risen Star. You look at the Louisiana Derby. I know it's easier, and it's going to be much easier, but it's just I don't know. I just don't know who he's been beaten. So,
and it doesn't bother you that Irad picked the 1 over the 6?
Not really. No, okay. Because what happened to me was they sent this horse up to Aqueduct when Irad wasn't here, and Carmouche rode him and he won. And so just keep it because Irad's been on Vassimo, pretty much every start. But
yeah,
look, I'm not gonna be shocked. I don't know. I have questions about him still.
He's better than the last 2 races. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think those are bad. They muddy up the rest of it. If you take those 2 races out, he's your second choice, clear second choice in this race. Well, maybe not. I guess Hill Road's there, but we'll get to Hill Road in a second. You mentioned the 6 Uncaged.
Yep.
I was between the 5 and the 6 as the last horse on the ticket for me, McAfee and Uncaged. And I put McAfee on the ticket for 2 reasons. First off, You go back and you watch those two races, the Gotham and the Wood. It just didn't feel like this horse got to do what this horse wanted to do. Was in traffic in both of those. I thought this horse actually did okay late in the Wood Memorial, considering how far Rosario wanted this horse back in the early stages of that race, where no one really made up any ground except Grande, who made up a little late. And then you go back to the two races prior to that. I like the obviously restricted win at Churchill, but it was nice. And then the fact that we're adding blinkers here, which to me tells me you're going to be a little more forwardly placed in this race. Adding with Dutrow blinkers on is 24%. First time out, first blinkers is 17%. Blinkers on in a specific race, 24%. So it's a move that he generally does very well. And I just see this as a really big jockey upgrade too, when you look at Velasquez compared to Luzzi, Rosario, and Escoval. So I think you're getting an upgraded jockey. You're adding blinkers for a barn that you never know when they're going to fire. Kind of feels like Dutrow might fire here. And the other thing was the 6 Uncaged. I couldn't get over the fact that both of the wins were on a sloppy track, and as a 70-cent favorite on a fast track, he was awful. And that was the one thing where I was just like, I think there's more upside with the 5 and the 6 at the same price. So I ended up on the 5 McAfee.
Well, I debated between the 4 and the 5 for the third horse on the ticket, and I ended up going the 4 Hill Road. You didn't use the 4. I'm sure you probably don't like the fact that he's coming out of Tampa and he hadn't been close to winning and everything like that, and that's hard to argue. My kind of thing is now that this horse, Chad Brown was saying, hey, we're just trying to get him an out here at Tampa. He's not quite ready to go. I think now we're going to see who he is. It's an easier race. I just think this is his chance to really show us. So I thought the 4 was one you had to use. And if it does get fast, if the 1 and the 8 and the 6 all kind of go out there and run, I do think Hill Road will come running. So I use the 4 as the third horse on the ticket for me.
Yeah, I mean, Hill Road would be the beneficiary of pace, right? Yeah. I just don't see a ton of pace in here, and I hate the 5-2 price. And I think Hill Road's taking money because it's Chad Brown and it's this spot. I'd rather bet the 10 Lordship at 12-1 for Chad Brown than the 4 Hill Road. Yeah. Just because of the price on those two horses. And I think the 10 has some upside second time out, although this is a decent size step up in class here for the 10 to jump into the Peter Pan. But I'd rather take the 12-1 price than the 5-2 price on Lordship over Hill Road. But this is a fascinating race because if it's, in my mind, if it's not Captain Cook, it's anybody except the 7 or the 9. Right. Mm-hmm. Like you could make a legitimate argument for 8 of the 10 horses here. So going to be an interesting running of the Peter Pan. And I over under 1.5 horses to the Belmont from this.
I'm going to go under. I think it's just 1.
I think I'm going to go over because I think Hill Road goes no matter what.
Okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair. So if you don't think Hill Road's winning, then no, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think Hill Road is targeting the Belmont. That's based on the way that Chad Brown's worked through this. I think that makes the most sense for him.
I think you're right. about that. Yeah, I didn't think about that one, but yeah, Hill Road could run a good second or third, and he's totally in. You're right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's read off the tickets. How about we do that? All right. There you go. I'll put them off the screen. You can read them off.
One more thing. I think this is an interesting comment from Curtis. If Hill Road was that good, wouldn't he be in Baltimore for Chad Brown? What do you think about that?
I don't think that horse really fits that race that well. He hasn't raced since Tampa Bay Derby because he had that injury. No, I don't know that I totally agree with that.
It would be interesting because it looks like there's going to be pace in the Preakness based on who the probables are, which would make it interesting for Hill Road coming from off it. But I kind of tend to agree with you. I think the plan for Hill Road, who is bred to be able to get the 1.5 miles, is the Belmont. Well, it's 1.25 miles, I guess, this year. But I still think that the bred to get that longer distance is an appealing thing for him at Saratoga. I also secretly think that Chad Brown really would like to win the Belmont at Saratoga. Like, I think that would be one of those things that he would love to have in the cap, the feather in the cap. So,
Okay. Well, I agree with you. I just think. I think if he would have ran in the Wood and he got second, and maybe he would go to the Preakness. But I think they kind of are like, hey, we need another prep or something like that. That's where I look at it. But anyway, Go ahead.
All right. For me here, I'm going to play a 50% pick 5. We're going to go skinny early and spread late. 2-3 with 1, with 2-3-6-7, with 4-8-9, with 1-3-5-8, $48 for 50 cents.
All right, I'm going to go with 3-5, with 1-4-6, with 1-4-7-8, with 8-10, with 4-6-8, $72 for me for this one. If you've been combining our tickets, you've been cashing. So just a little bit of a hint if you want to do something like that as well. All right, I know you got to go in a couple of minutes. Anything you're betting tonight that you're excited about?
I actually want to ask you a question. I do have to go in like 2 minutes. So I want to ask you a question. Where do you rank the loss to Winnipeg on the pain scale of Blues games?
Not that high. Not that high.
Okay. All right.
Here's why. I hate it for the boys because they worked way too hard for that result. But I'm not downplaying it. It hurt, but I don't view this team as having a chance to win the cup, right? And I know that team did absolutely everything they could for us this year. So I refuse to be a downer about the season.
I had it as a top 5 for me because of how they lost it and how much I liked this team. Even when we won the President's Cup around like 2001, I can't remember that year, we got lost to San Jose in 7. I didn't love that team. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't a team that I'm like, I'm enjoying following this team. This is the most fun team we've had outside of like the 96, 97 team with Hall Gretzky and like the Hall Oates teams in early 90s. And then the team that won the Stanley Cup. That is how much fun it was to root for this team. And so that is why I think I have it higher up on the list than maybe you.
I will come back and say this is my favorite team other than the Cup team. They have been because they're so young and they work so hard and they've gotten so much out of themselves. Yeah.
Car Ramrod. So like we've been through a lot of pain as Blues fans. Nothing will ever top Game 7 against Detroit, Steve Yzerman in the second overtime from the blue line, because we had the best team in hockey that year. And had we won that game, I think we win the cup. To Aaron's point, we would have been hard pressed to get by Dallas and then the winner of Edmonton, Vegas. Like, we weren't that good this year. And so, it was really painful because we were so close to advancing. And that's why it is in my top 5. But there were years where we were, I'm not going to say inarguably, but we were clearly one of the best 2 or 3 teams in hockey and lost in disgusting ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It hurt. I'm not trying to downplay it, but I just know we're going to grow from it. We're very young, and those guys, they gave it everything they had, and they went in there and played well enough to win. Like, they played lights out for a period and a half for sure. It was hard. It was heartbreaking, but I got over it quicker than I thought I would.
Yeah. Manlow, real quick before we have to go, someone hit 100-1 on the new Pope. I don't know if that's the coolest thing I've ever seen or if we're officially cooked. My favorite X post about the new Pope. So this is the first ever American Pope. There's never been an American Pope before.
Okay. Yep.
He's from a suburb outside of Chicago called Naperville, close to where I grew up from. And he went to Villanova University. This means, and this is the first ever Pope that's come from America in thousands of years, right? Chicago was able to have a Pope before a 4,000-yard passer. There's still been no bear to pass for 4,000 yards. So they were able to turn out a Pope before they could find a quarterback who could throw for 4,000 yards. That was my favorite X post I saw today on this.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. I don't think anybody had told me that one yet. So that's good. Very good.
Have you been to Portillo's?
Have I been where?
Portillo's. It's a hot dog place in Chicago.
No.
That's like super famous. It's so delicious. The other joke was Portillo's is opening a Vatican City location. That was incredible too. If you've never been to Portillo's, there's one in Orange County. There's a bunch in Chicago as well. They are absolutely delicious.
Yeah, that does sound very. No, I'd never heard of it. So, but I've only been to Chicago like one time. So
it's one of those, like, if you're from the Chicago suburbs, you know what Portillo's is. If you're not, you don't.
Okay, I don't feel too bad then. You make me feel bad enough on this show every week. Then
well, well, you keep picking these bad favorites. I got to make you feel bad somehow.
All right. Well,
real quick. I got one more thing. I know I'm the one who has to go, and I keep doing this.
I'm trying to get you out of here.
Curtis Menlo says, Pedlo, that dude who tipped us off on his horse, runs in the third at Churchill today. Why don't you tell the chat who the horse is?
Yeah.
Right?
Jeez,
yeah. Which horse? Can we know the horse? Okay, here we go. 67 Mustang.
They don't even know.
Churchill race number 3, 67 Mustang, I guess, was the tip
on.
that Menlo and Pedlo, interesting, got at the track. 7-2, the one horse. Cedillo rides for Doug Anderson.
So I would say this. Wait, hold on. Doug Anderson's the trainer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold on. Well, you got to go. One text. I can tell you if that horse is any good or not.
I love it.
I have a Doug Anderson connection. So
there we go.
So there we go.
Aaron Kennedy owns it.
I may know the gentleman who put the shoes on 67 Mustang. So I can get the info on that one. The real info, not what the owner says.
There we go. See, I wish we knew this earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Oh man, the guy told us about how he sold Puka. Is there a better broodmare in America right now than Puka?
Ooh. That's
No.
I mean, I don't know if I'd be listening to anybody that sold Puka. You know?
That's a worse loss than the Blues.
That's worse than Game 7 for Detroit that year too.
Yeah,
When we beat them,
right.
or when they beat us.
Oh, Puka, have yourself a decade. All right, I really do have to go. Did you hear anything back or no?
I just sent the message, so
all right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow on @VSiN Live on this YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching us there, go over to YouTube, go to @VSiN Live. We'll have VSiN at the Track, Road to the Preakness. Our show got extended because we were so awesome. So we'll be going through the entire Triple Crown. We'll see if we get into the summer as well. But anyway, 11:15 Pacific, 2:15 Eastern, VSiN at the Track on YouTube Live tomorrow, Aaron.
I love it. Can't wait, guys. It's going to be a fun time. Samich, we'll get you out of here. I just sent the message. Pedlo, I'll text you if I hear anything. How about that? There you go.
There you go.
And Nick, I'll text you too. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
What about me?
Are you playing? Do you want it?
Well, yeah, I'll bet
Do
it.
you care? Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. All right.
There you go.
Maybe I'll form a group. Nope, not doing that. All right.
No,
See you guys.
Throw it in the Discord.
I'd have to download the app.
You text Shoddy. She'll put it in the Discord.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that as well. Okay, sounds good. All right. See you guys later.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.